Evening Words is live at Eddie's house at 5901 Market Street. We're back on WRD 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURDradio.com, and the WURD Radio app. I want to welcome back to the program Muti Ajamu-Osagboro, who's a Philadelphia native who was wrongfully imprisoned for 42 years, beginning at the age of 17. He's now serving on the advisory board of the Elevation Project, which is their program, folks. The Elevation Project's the Judges broadcast. It's also part of Every Voice and Every Vote. Brother Moody, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Program.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah, no doubt. There's so much I want to talk to you about, but during the break we were talking a little bit about literacy. Literacy is one of my big issues here on Evening Words, and it's something I take real personally. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how education and literacy rates impact some of the issues we talk about when we talk about wrongful imprisonment and the kind of over-imprisonment of the people in our community.
The numbers in prison of illiteracy are extreme. There's a 50% illiteracy rate. Then there's another, like a 25% functional illiteracy rate, is they can read and write, but they can't comprehend. Mm-hmm. And then you have what's called illiterate, where they can read and write, but they use other sources in which to get their news just to avoid reading. And then you throw in the mix of the law, and most people are illiterate to the law. So that's like a 99.9% rate of illiteracy overall. But a funny thing about illiteracy, for me, the road to becoming a literacy instructor, certified, the Labak method, is that the program that I wind up joining I started in Camp Hill, and I became certified there, and then I came to Holmesburg, Grady Ford, and I was certified there in a separate
technique. Certified to teach literacy.
Right, they have different techniques of how. Labak is one method, it's the most popular method, and then there was another method when I got to Grady Ford. I can't recall which method it was, but I became certified in that. But the funny thing about that program is called PLP, the Prison Literacy Project, or the Philadelphia Literacy Project, or the Pennsylvania Literacy Project. I don't quite remember what the first P stood for. That program was founded by Mayor Rendell, who was the prosecutor, the district attorney who prosecuted.
Wow. So
once I achieved that status, I got the certification, and I looked on the joint. It was signed by Ed Rendell.
That's a full circle moment for you.
Yeah, especially and particularly that he was a convicted liar. No, this is not. Anything that I tell you, you can go look it up. He's a perjurer. He was convicted of perjury in a court of law in a homicide case. But that's just the short of it. You go into some of the other treacherous things that he done when he was the district attorney. That's a whole nother thing. But anyway, that's the nature of the program. So you see how that's intertwined. So one of the things that we did was we created programs. And the brothers that came and got me to put together an African-centered curriculum. And so we did that, and it kind of upset some of the cats that was there, because they was basically gatekeepers. And they thought that, because a lot of our volunteers were Europeans, but they were European students, and they were actually hungry for knowledge. But the gatekeepers thought that, no, it's not going to work. And so they went back to campus and was like, yo, you got to hear this brother.
Right.
And so their superiors came, and they loved it, so it was on and popping. And one of the other things that we did was we put together a program for literacy, those who have intellectual disability, because I've been working with those with intellectual disability for like 35 years. And so we put together a program specifically for them. And that's like a hell of a challenge, because sometimes the disability...
They have all different kinds of learning. They learn differently, yes.
There you go. And my first student was like probably the most difficult, because we would go hard for a whole day, and then the next day he would forget everything. Wow. That was his disability.
Right.
And so we had to just like, I forget what the movie was when the dude woke up. It was the same day every day.
Groundhog's Day.
Groundhog's Day.
You're talking about one of my favorite movies,
right.
Yes, Bill Murray,
and so it was Groundhog's Day for the student.
Learning process.
But so I had to create a technique to actually get him to retain it.
Right.
And I did, and it was beautiful.
So I mean, I want to talk about this program tonight. So we got to have you back on the show to talk more about the
Not a problem.
Piece. That's powerful.
Not a problem.
Work for it. So you serve on the advisory board. You're one of the moderators for tonight. Talk to us a little bit about your expectations for tonight's program.
All right, but before I do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't say how much I support the Elevation Project. And not just that I'm involved, but when she interviewed you, she mentioned somebody. She was talking about me. And actually, when I
interviewed her, it made it seem like she was interviewing me, but I was interviewing her.
Right,
yes.
yeah, right. It was beautiful.
Yes.
I liked the chemistry. Where I called her.
You're the one who had like all these things.
Yeah, but she told the story incorrectly. When I told her I had over 60 things to do, I had done them all.
Okay.
And she was like, "What? How you do that in such a short time? You haven't even breathed. You have to breathe. Slow down, breathe." And I said, "No, I got to get it done. I got more stuff." She was like, "Slow down, bro. Slow down." And it wasn't really I was trying to make up for time. I'm just an intense person. And, you know, the same way I was in the wall doing multiple projects, you know, multiple activations, and I mean, wearing multiple hats. Same thing when I touch, like, I always say that prison is really a petri dish. And when you look into a petri dish with the naked eye, you can't really see what's going on.
Right.
But when you look through the microscope, you can see all the life forms, some choking, robbing others, you know, choking others out, killing others, parasites. You can see all those things. And so in prison, you learn how to master when you see that. There may be 35 different personalities on the planet. You have them all in prison. And you get to master how they move. And so once you do that, no matter where you go on this planet, you're going to run into the same 35 people. Once you master, you know, personalities and whatnot. So for me, that became extremely helpful when I got on the other side of the wall. You know what I'm saying? And so I was able to
You applied that to
everyday life.
That's right.
Because we're in the macrocosm now. I wrote a paper when I was in a program called it's Temple University. It's called Inside Out. I got kicked out of the program because I called the professor out, and she said I took over the class because I simply everything.
I can't imagine that happening.
Everything she said that we can do, I did. But she allowed an agent provocateur in the class to kick me out, and she supported it, and the students was like on a walkout, and I was like, "No, my job is done here. Y'all understand." Plus my case took off, so I said I have to tend to that. Boom. But in terms of what I expect for this evening, there are a lot of things people don't understand the importance of a judge. Now, granted, I've already established that they second fiddle to the prosecution. And but nevertheless, there are some things that they can do to mitigate or correct some of the injustices if you dealing with a rogue ADA, a rogue prosecutor. The judge has to have courage and integrity. Also, I would be remiss if I did not mention a particular judge, Judge DeClaudio. I sit in his courtroom anytime I can, and it's a tutorial. It's never the same. And he got me thinking. Prior to watching this dude move, I mean, I just got to keep it a bean. He's a white dude. And I never thought that a white dude in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, let alone America, could actually have that type of integrity on the bench.
Wow.
I just didn't think it was possible.
And that's not an endorsement. That's just...
No, that's just how it... I'm just... factually, I'm giving it to you.
Right.
My circumstances.
Right.
And how this boy move on the bench.
Right.
Like, I'm talking about A1, day one. And it's like...
He believes in fairness.
Oh my goodness, it's not, belief is really like not a good word, but
he practices.
There you go. He practices.
We got to take a break here, brother. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for calling. I'm sure
Anytime.
we're going to have more conversations. You're listening to Evening Words on WRD, Progressive Black Talk Media on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WordRadio.com, and the Word Radio app. This is a special broadcast live from Eddie's house at 5901 Market Street. Folks, you can come on down here. We're starting to get set up. This is the Elevation Project's the judges broadcast. We spoke with Latrice Webb, who's the ED here. We just finished up an incredible conversation with Muti Ajamu-Osagboro, who is on the board of the Elevation Project, an advisor, and obviously puts in the work for the community through the Melanin Court Watch. We are going to have a chance to conduct one more interview, though, before we go to the program. We'll be talking with